Hello and welcome to the Hollywood Persona podcast. This is Ant. I am here with my friend and co-host Mitch. Mitch, how you doing?
Trying to fix my hair. How are you?
Good, good. Your hair looks great, man.
Thank you. It's a
Your
mess.
uh your background is different than normal. You are in a hotel on a trip.
Yes, I am. I'm in the lovely town of Cambridge, Ontario, and I brought my mic, but I didn't bring the cord to plug it in. So I'm using the mic that came with my lovely webcam. So hopefully it sounds okay. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it sounds pretty good.
we are excited to talk the shit out of Joker Folie, Deux,
Yep.
and that will be exciting. And yeah, we got a couple other ones lined up that we want to talk about. I've seen a couple of the horror movies that I talked were coming to streaming last week. I want to chat about House of Spoils and It's What's Inside. One of those I will suggest, and I will not.
Cool. I really
And
am curious about It's What's Inside. The
yeah,
few reviews I've read / seen, people are like, go in knowing nothing. This is a crazy, weird, and different movie. Like kind of like a whodunit or similar Knives Out story blend. And
yeah,
I can't wait.
I'll be able to explain it where like God not giving away spoilers because it's the setup and it's really really interesting. So
Cool. And then I'm going
yeah,
to mention The Outrun, which is a new movie that's in limited release with Saoirse Ronan, and then
oh, that was
also
good.
A Different Man with Sebastian Stan and the gentleman with the interesting facial features from Scarlett
Isn't it
Johansson's.
Adam?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Adam
Adam
Bell
Pearson. Adam
Pearson.
Pearson.
I
Yeah,
knew it was like a pretty generic name,
yeah.
but he was the man with the cool, interesting and distinguished face from Under the Skin. But
No,
yeah, Joe.
I know it's spoilers, but does she go through with it with him, or does she leave him alone because she feels bad for him?
I think she goes
That's
through with it, but that's the turn that makes her start to have feelings
okay. Okay, yeah.
and
Such
disobey
a good
her
movie.
orders. Yeah, anyone listening to this that hasn't seen Under the Skin, it's excellent. It's got Scarlett Johansson. It's 2014. It's an awesome like sci-fi, like
Yeah,
really cool premise for a movie,
yeah. That's great.
and the music's cool in it. It's just one of those like amazing movies that didn't make it big mainstream.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
before
Definitely
we
didn't.
before we get started into Joker, so we're recording this on Friday the 10th, and so we're kind of in the middle of when we would normally mention box office. But I did want to mention that Megalopolis took a huge historic drop of 72 or 73%, and from its $4 million opening, 70% of that is $1.5 million or something. So, but that's not much of a surprise. It didn't do well, so nobody thought it was going to like blow up at the box office. But then more interesting was Joker opening at under 40 million, less than Madam Web, less than Morbius. Crazy, crazy, crazy situation. It just shows that word of mouth and critic reviews can sometimes impact scores. I know a couple people that, who are not necessarily big movie fans that saw it, or saw the first one, of course, asked me what I thought, and I'm pretty sure they steered away from it because of what I told them to at the least wait till streaming if they do decide to see it.
Yeah, like I know. Even I was listening on the way here, and Avery skipped it completely. He's like, He's like, once I heard that, he said, I got no interest. He said he
Really?
didn't, but he didn't really love the first one. So yeah, like we'll get into that. I've definitely got a lot to say
Yeah. So
about it.
so I say, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and just go to Joker. And I think we're going to talk spoilers in a minute.
We will tell you in
Yeah,
advance,
we'll
and
mention it ahead of time because there's a lot we can say plenty without spoilers, but then I think I'd like to talk about a couple of scenes and a couple of things in it.
yeah,
So Joker Folie, as everyone knows, is the sequel to the box office juggernaut that was Joker of 2017. No, 2019. I think it's 5 years old already, which is
yeah,
crazy.
okay.
Right, 1920. Yeah.
I have
Um,
it right here.
it's again directed
2024.
by it's again directed
Sorry.
by Todd Phillips, who everyone remembers from the Hangover movies and what was his Road Trip. And this is always so fun to say if people don't know this. Todd Phillips, if you guys remember from one of my favorite like boob comedies, Old
Your
School.
hero. Old school.
No, old school. He's the guy that comes over to the house and says, "I'm here for the gangbang," and
Oh,
that's him.
really?
That's him.
Oh,
That's director Todd Phillips. And I remember when I first learned that, I'm like, no freaking way, because he's such a like goofy guy that says that. I think that's his only line in the movie.
huh.
So this is sequel to the smash success of Joker, and I remember quite loving the first one. What about you, Mitch?
Yeah, I think it's like 4.5, almost 5 stars. It like, a lot of people like to say that it is a kind of copy of King of Comedy and
Yeah,
Taxi
Taxi
Driver,
Driver, King of Comedy. Yep.
So it did have its people who were like, okay, this is taking way too much from these two wonderful movies.
Yeah.
But I really, really liked it. And it was a look into the mind of someone who was mad and like going mad. And it was a great look with a great acting performance and everything. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
I'm really
Same. I love that first one. It is dark and, a hard watch, but like you said, it's a startling insight into someone who has been abused by family, his peers, the public, the system. He had just no support, and it kind of was just illuminating to see how someone could spiral down and become, like a mass shooter or, do something horrible. They could have not even called it Joker. I think the title got people to see it because the public to see it because but change it or keep his name just Arthur and take out the tiny bits of Batman stuff that's in that movie, and you have a great movie still that maybe wouldn't have been seen by as many people. So,
but I love that Batman stuff in the original in the first Joker because it was just so small, but it was so impactful,
yeah, it was done really well, and
it was.
Yeah, it's like, and that movie made you think like, wow, this director really has a handle on things and knows what he's doing, and because it was just subtle enough, and maybe it was the studio that said, hey, you got to put this stuff in there, and he figured out a way to do it. But so this one is the plot officially is, while struggling with his dual identity, Arthur Fleck not only stumbles upon true love, but also finds the music that's always been inside him, which that leaves a lot out of what this movie really is, I think.
For sure. And who stars in it?
Yeah, so you have, of course, Joaquin Phoenix reprising his role, his Oscar-winning role, Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn, and then some supporting characters. Most notably, Brendan Gleeson plays a cop, Catherine Keener plays his lawyer, Zazie Beetz, Steve Coogan plays a journalist interviewing him, and Lee Gill, who is my favorite scene in this movie. One of the only...
Puddles?
Yes, Gary Puddles.
Yeah.
He's
my favorite too. Yeah, he is excellent.
It was really cool to see comedian Tim Dillon. Do you know who he is?
No.
He's a heavyset, overweight comedian, gay comedian.
Okay.
He kind of is, I guess he's liked a lot more by right-leaning crowds, but I find him hilarious. He'll take the piss out of anyone and everything.
I'm just asking because I'm trying to figure out which character he is. Is he white or black?
He's a white guy. He plays a cop.
Okay.
I think he's the cop who says something like, the value of this will go up once he dies.
Okay, yeah. He sits in the monitoring room with the cameras. Okay.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him in here because I haven't seen him act in anything else really. His specials on Netflix are pretty funny. That's Tim Dillon. If you like comedy, it's pretty crass. Yeah,
I know the name.
And then so that's about it for names for who's in this. So this movie, there was
except for that Wonder Woman cameo at the end.
And and there is no post credits or stinger here. I don't think, right?
We can tell you that right up front. I looked online.
Yeah. So I think you had the advantage of getting to hear feedback before going in.
Yes.
I saw this almost 2 weeks ago now, Monday, like the very early screening, and so all I heard was that it did okay at Venice or whatever. But so I didn't enjoy this at all, really. I have a couple of nice things to say, but I really kind of want to go in on Todd Phillips on this, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have some things to say about that too.
Unless this was on purpose, but I pretty much hate this movie. And it's pretty amazing to me that Todd Phillips and Phoenix were able to make people who loved the first movie hate this, and the people that hated that first movie also hate this. So that's impressive. It's in the 30 percentile for critics, 30 percentile for audience members. It got a D, not a D plus like Megalopolis, but a D cinema score, which is extremely low and rare. It's the lowest cinema score any comic book movie has ever gotten, including like Spawn or the Hulk, Ang Lee's The Hulk. So yeah, this thing's widely despised, and I'm not too shocked. There is not too much redeeming here. Let's hear your basic thoughts.
My basic thoughts?
Yeah, like your
So essentially, what I want to say is, and maybe you kind of alluded to this, the movie takes place 95% in the jail or the courthouse.
I did say that to you, yeah.
Okay, you said it to okay.
I texted
sorry,
it to you when I first saw it. Except I
Yes,
said it like
and
85%. But yeah, I know it does.
it's so we pick up. I don't know how many years it's been. Like, is it actually been 6 years or 4 years?
No, I think this is shortly after, because the end of the
Like,
first movie is him being arrested, right?
yeah, like he gets arrested and brought to jail. And I thought maybe they said something like 6 months or something. But they've also made a TV movie in between about
Good
it,
call.
but something. So I don't really know the timeline. But he is in jail,
Arkham?
and
Is he in Arkham?
yeah, he is in Arkham. I'm like, we're an hour into this. I'm like, this has to be Arkham Asylum, right? And then all of a sudden, this guy, he puts his towel over it, and it says just Arkham across the thing. And I'm like, well, there you go. Arkham is very famous, and Gotham is where all the bad people go, like when Batman catches them. This is a pre-Batman world. Batman is still just a little kid. And sorry, I might be giving way too much
No, that's okay.
discussion about what the movie is, but yeah, it's which is just kind of crazy. It's like, hey, we are gonna take this movie, which was a descent into madness, like wonderful like portrayal. It was interesting and went different places, and we're gonna do this. And my running title for this movie is Joker Whisper Singing, because that's my biggest complaint. My biggest complaint is 100% the fucking music.
Yeah.
It's like Joaquin Phoenix. We know he could sing from Walk the Line. Yes, where I think he won his first Oscar.
At least was nominated. I'll look it up.
I know Reese won, but I don't know if he won. But so I was like, okay, like he's gonna sing, and then we know Lady Gaga can sing, obviously, from her albums and that movie. What's the movie? Lady Gaga.
The remake, Star is Born.
Star is Born. And so I was like, okay, at least we're gonna hear them like singing. And I think they don't always do full songs, but they do like maybe like 50 seconds to like 2 minutes or something. And most of the time, they're like whisper singing back and forth. And he doesn't really have a voice for that. Like there was only one time where I was like enjoying his voice. His singing voice that's when there's like this kind of dream sequence and they get to come out on stage.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is kind of more what I wanted. And it was an upbeat song. It was like interesting. But the rest of it was just songs from the like 50s and like 60s.
But you're all fine songs, but usually one of my complaints is usually musicals, a lot of people feel strongly about musicals. I don't hate them. I don't love them.
Me neither.
Some are good, some are bad. I love La La Land. I liked Wonka quite a bit. That was a musical. Most musicals write music to be performed, and that's what makes them cool. And the cast performs them. The jailer, the guard, the police, the other inmates would come up and do a thing, right?
Yeah.
We don't get that here at all.
This is just Joker and Harley Quinn singing. Like I didn't like any of the music except for that middle part. It was just awful. And so to my other point, and this is where I'm kind of like I'm having trouble, and a lot of people would say, well, Mitch, you got to look at it as the movie that it is in front of you. You have to rate this movie
Right.
by what you see on the screen, not
Don't
what you
review
think.
what you wanted, but what we got.
And because in my head, immediately after the theater, I'm like, if they did this, if they did this, if they did this, this could be a good movie. There's a good movie in there. Maybe a 3.5 star, but like, if you cut out every single song, cut them all out. They don't need to be there. They don't move the plot forward at all.
That's another thing. They don't move the plot forward.
They put you in his head a little bit, obviously, or kind of get you to understand what he's thinking. But Joaquin Phoenix is doing that for us with his acting. We don't need him to sing a little song to show that he's in love with Harley Quinn, or, a little ditty to show you that he's going mad. It was a fucking wild decision. And part of me is, sorry, I'll let you talk in a second. I apologize.
No, keep going, because
part of what you're saying about the Tom Phillips thing is, I have questions for that man. I'd love to have a one-on-one 60 minutes chat with him, because is this a joke?
Right.
Is this a joke? Are you saying to us, hey, you all want a Joker too? Well, here it is. And whatever. They got a standing ovation at Venice for like 4 minutes. And then there's video of it where Joaquin Phoenix leans over to Lady Gaga and says, wow, that was horrible. He mouths it. And like people that, like, you know what I mean? So even people lip read it.
Yeah.
So are they in on it? That it's
right.
bad?
Is this a big troll? A lot of people have said that. Is like, is he trolling us? Is this a thing where like Matrix Resurrections, where Lana Wachowski was like, oh, okay, you want another Matrix movie? You're going to make me make this? Fine.
Yeah.
Todd Phillips is like, oh, so I have to make a sequel? Well, watch this.
He didn't have to. They could have got another director. I just don't know why there weren't any studio notes. Who looked at this and said, this is what fans are going to want? Those people who love Joker and Batman and all that stuff.
And the thrust of this movie is, what I mean by thrust is the majority of this movie is rehashing and repeating stuff we already know. This is shit that we saw in the first movie. This is just a trial, and a boring one at that.
It's like, it feels like a filler like book where they're like kind of just like going over stuff because like a lot of stuff is going to happen, or a lot of stuff did happen, but like they don't have to recap what happened in the first one.
We all saw it,
and it's memorable, and like they can tell us what. If you're going to do a court case, do it like they did in Anatomy of a Fall, where we don't really know who's
exactly
right. Wrong. This is a cut and dry court case.
Procedural.
6 people.
We all saw it.
Why do we need to hear all these people's testimonies about what we saw in the first movie? Like, it's not entertaining.
Right. There's one scene, the one scene that I liked and was touched by is that Gary Puddles.
Yes.
He gives a interesting testimony on what the acts that Arthur Fleck committed in the first movie have impacted his life. And Arthur Fleck, and I guess this is a little bit of a spoiler, but not really. Arthur Fleck is flabbergasted, like, I saved your life. I didn't kill you. We're friends, and the guy has to say, like, yeah, but you killed people in front of me, and I'm traumatized. I can't sleep at night. I trusted you, and I liked you, and now I have to think of you as a murderer, so I can't like you, Great dialogue, good scene. But besides that, it's just so boring. I mean, like, Zazie Beetz is back for another scene. And again, we're just recapping what we saw in the first one.
And they did nothing with her. Like, it was like
nothing.
When I saw it was her, I was like, oh, I didn't know she was in this. It surprised me.
I didn't either.
Okay. And I'm like, I didn't think she was going to come back. And then I'm like, okay, cool. And then they just didn't use her for anything. Like,
other things. Another thing is, let's talk about Lady Gaga. She is not singing at her best here. I read an article that said something to the effect of the 2 actors, Joaquin and Lady Gaga, like had to learn to sing off key because they wanted it to sound like they were 2 regular people singing. So that gets us terrible sounding music where it's like,
Yeah,
we know this woman can sing and belt out songs, and she gets maybe like
exactly.
one song where she gets to really pour her heart in it. Another thing, I remember pre-production pictures where she's in this like really cool looking red outfit, and so but which is not in this movie, and so that tells me
Yeah,
they
it
must
is.
have cut her scene, or maybe not the red one. The red one is, sorry.
She shows
Um,
up to court in it, like on, or I don't know. I don't know what one you saw, but it
it's like
looked
a red
very.
blazer, and then she has like diamond shaped leggings on that are black with like diamonds on them.
I
Um,
swear she wears that in the scene where she confronts Catherine Keener's character.
Yeah, yeah. But my
But
point
anyways,
still stands because you're right. I was wrong about that. But there are other scenes I saw her wearing other things in the pre production photos that aren't in here.
okay,
And she had to have had a lot cut out because they sell this as a co-lead situation, but she's a supporting character here. She is
yeah,
not in the majority of this movie.
yeah,
Um,
about as much as Catherine Keener
right? She's like
or Brendan
she's
Gleeson,
supporting.
really.
She is supporting. She is not a
Yeah,
co-lead.
yeah,
And then just another problem. They want us to ground this movie in reality. That was what was cool about the first one, was this feels real. This could really happen, kind of. And this one, they present it in that same way, like this is a real situation, but no court would allow him to come in there with his face paint on. And, it's kind of like in other movies where the judge is like, it's highly unusual, but I'll allow it. It's
he
just,
pretty much says that at one
he
point.
does. And it's
Yeah,
just, so that's like, that just goes against the feeling that we're supposed to get that this is realistic. There's a moment, there's an explosion in this movie. And at that moment, I was like, it took me by surprise.
me
And I
too.
was like, oh, all right, finally, this movie's going to get going. But
Yeah,
immediately, a scene later, and it's a cool scene. There's like a nice long take from him,
yes,
or from that explosion. But immediately it reverses that. It's like, oh, you're about to have fun? Nope. We're going back. We're going back
never
where we just
mind,
were.
never mind.
Never
Yeah,
mind. And I
it's
get
like,
what they were doing, because the whole, the theme of this, or like the motif, is that there was no Joker. It was Arthur Fleck the whole time. Like that's, and I think back to Todd Phillips. I think he feels personal. It feels bad about the people that took up this movie, like the bad behavior people, incels, who took this as their like, hey, look at this. This is us. This is,
right,
and praised Joker as the
right.
hero. And he was like, no, 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 you don't understand. Joker's a piece of shit. And this is what would really happen. I think that's what feels like he's doing here. And while that's fine, he's right technically. That does not make an entertaining movie
You know,
at all.
and like Anderson from the Film Boat podcast, he like said they didn't do enough with that, feeling of the people that are outside that want, like, all we saw was like shots of them like, we love Joker, and that's it. We
And we
didn't
don't meet
get
any.
it.
We don't know their names. We know nothing about anyone outside this courtroom.
Like, they don't pan to anyone and get like, why do you love Joker? Why do you support him? What does he mean to you? No, just, we love Joker.
Another movie that came out this year, I don't think you've seen it yet, called Red Rooms.
Not yet, no.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
That's and I think I reviewed it or talked about it on here. It's a French, actually it's French Canadian. It's a Quebec or Montreal.
Right.
And it's a procedural about a psycho killer. And that movie is fascinating and interesting, and he could have copied from that, in the sense that we are our intro to the horrible things that this killer is doing is through a character that is coming to the trial and watching it. Whereas this is just like, oh, it's just following him. And the movie is just mean. Like, all the characters are shitty. The guards, there's a scene in this, this is another spoilery scene, kind of, but I won't tell it completely. But if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. Brendan Gleeson as a guard. The guard relationships with the Joker is all weird, because they seem to be entertained with him or like him, but also despise him. But Brendan Gleeson takes Arthur Fleck to some musical thing, watch a movie or hear a piano or sing or whatever. And they're walking back to his cell, and the guard gives Arthur Fleck a compliment, or says, nice job back there, or something. Arthur says, thank you, or something, and pats him on the back. And the guard just winds up and almost smacks the teeth out of his mouth. And it's like, Jesus, that's mean. Why? Like, okay, all right. Like, And there's another scene where the guards take him by into the bathroom and beat the crap out of him, and there's people talking about that scene being even worse than just a physical beating. I don't know if you've heard
Yeah.
that.
No, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, people are saying that scene is supposed to imply that he was sexually assaulted. They
I
don't
didn't.
show that, so I don't
Okay.
know if that's the case. They say he's in the bathrooms, they pull his clothes off, but you could just say they're trying to humiliate and hurt him. So I don't know what the reality is there. But back to the point I was making, there's
Yeah.
no redeeming characters, nobody likable here.
Well,
Harley Quinn, she
no.
isn't likable either, and I don't know if she's supposed to be, but in the other adaptations we've seen her in, like the Emancipation of Harley Quinn or the 2016 Suicide Squad, she's at least, or the 2018 Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
at
she's
least like
great
a,
in that one.
yeah, right? Like she's fun, plucky, and interesting. And yeah, she's a bad, quote, bad person, but it's still fun
Yeah.
to watch. Here, she's just dry and miserable and she has no arc, really, no character growth. Back to being reality, she gets to just roam around this place like she owns it. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
he's put in solitary at one moment, and she all of a sudden just shows up like, oh, and she brought him face paint too. It's like, is this realistic or not? Like, what?
What was that movie like? There's a movie that we talked about earlier this year where they're in solitary, the two of them, and then they're allowed to, and then they escape.
They're in solitary, but then they escape.
No, they're in like kind of like a jail, like for a youth.
The Crow.
The Crow, yeah, remember? And
Yeah.
like, hey, like, you guys are gonna go up there, you man and woman, okay?
Hey, you want to get out of here? Okay, let's just go. One little fence that's waist high, hop it over, and
Yeah.
we're gone. Yeah. And she can leave, come and go to this prison as she wishes to.
Yeah.
And the things she says sound interesting. She says that she's pyro and has lit things on fire. It would have been nice to see that, but
Well,
no.
it kind of did, but I mean,
We do. We see her
piano.
Oh yeah, no, but I mean, what?
I know.
Yeah,
I think we should jump in.
They would let a psycho pyro have matches.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's like giving Michael his knife, like in prison.
His face mask in prison.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's jump into spoilers because a lot of what we're saying, like, I need to connect to the end.
Let's
like,
do
you know
it.
what I mean? Like, so, I want to go on about the Harley thing. So, Harley Quinn, we're into spoilers on Joker 2 now. So, if you want to see it or
don't care,
skip or don't. Harley Quinn. So we see Joker walking down the hall and he sees Harley Quinn like in there, like, oh, anyways. And then they get to go in there and they get to sing together. And sorry, everyone, I apologize. It's been a long day. They get to see her, like, we haven't seen a single woman this whole movie. And then all of a sudden they go over to this other place and there's women. And there's not many, like basically just Harley.
And his lawyer for a minute.
Yeah, right. And so they build a relationship and then she like lies to him about some things like, like I lived where you used to live in that area. I had no money. Later on, you find out that she does come from money. And
that she didn't lie or that she committed herself.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing. And so you find out that she committed herself into this place. And I'm sorry, but you don't commit yourself to Arkham Asylum. It just kind of, And like, I mean, I can get it, but
I get the character doing that stuff. But you're right. Like, if you commit yourself, you're not getting put in with the death row capital inmate people, right?
And then just allowing them to commingle, like you said, and then so one day she just says, "Yeah, I'm gonna leave. They're letting me go." And then you find out like that she could just go whenever she pleases. So then she's like a character on the outside of the prison, which just seemed like almost like we need to find a way where she gets out so we can do this. So, well, what if she was in there for like no reason at all?
Yeah. It felt pretty flimsy. I did hear a defense of that. Because her parents are wealthy and powerful, she has control, or
Yeah, maybe
And
she's paying her
someone
way.
said there was a comment about she might have like done like a favor for the guard to get access. I didn't hear that, but
Oh, she did say something like
she said
that.
something like that. So
Yeah.
that's not that big of a sticking point for me.
No, I
But
just
what else about her
just where
character?
everything went, and then I'm gonna jump over kind of to the Joker now. So at the end of the movie, and I like you jump in or whatever, whenever, but
Yeah, I want to talk about the end.
I'm not exactly at that part. So at
Okay,
the
okay.
end of the court case, Arthur Fleck, aka Joker, basically says to everyone, you know what? I'm actually not Joker. I'm just Arthur Fleck.
Yes.
And I call fucking bullshit
Why?
because we just spent 2 hours with Joaquin Phoenix acting his ass off, going between the two characters. He was doing basically multiple personality disorder. At one point, he was a Joker. At one point, he wasn't. He's in the cab laughing and cackling, and then he
And he
fires his,
represents himself as the
yeah,
Joker wearing makeup
he,
and
exactly. And then for him all of a sudden to just be like, no, I'm not the Joker. It's like, and Harley to say, yeah, you're not the Joker anymore.
right.
It's like, this guy is clearly psychotic. And maybe it was different back in the 70s and the 80s, and they wanted to just electrocute these guys. But if you looked at this person like today, you'd be like, he is psychotic. And we
Yes.
have now seen him for 2 movies being like, he goes mad and then
Multiple.
he's
Yeah.
so I have no belief there that anybody would buy it. Anybody would be against Catherine Keener's character. If anybody looked at the case, they would look at it and say, yeah, he's a crazy dude. He's messed up. There's something wrong.
Yeah.
So that's my problem. So when he says, I'm Arthur Fleck, and everybody's just like, I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
anyway, so that was my big frustration at the end.
That didn't
But
that didn't bother me that much. The once he fires Catherine Keener, I thought like, well, why did we even have her here? What? Because her
yeah,
whole point is to try and prove what you just said, Arthur. We need to, explain to them, the public, the press, that you are two separate people. That one is the Joker, one is Arthur Fleck. She's trying to save his life. They're going to kill him. He's being sentenced to death. And he couldn't care less. He just is like, whatever. He does a TV interview, and she's like, don't smoke, it'll make you look more mean. Oh my god, this movie, the third co-star is a pack of cigarettes. Jesus
yes,
Christ, they're smoking
yes,
like
every
cigarettes are going
scene,
out of style. Every scene is just, oh,
just
smoke,
like.
smoke, so much
I
smoke.
wrote in my notes that I got secondhand
My
cigarettes
god, the amount
from
of smoking in this.
secondhand
And
cancer from this movie.
I'm a former smoker, and I was still like, this is just obnoxious. So yeah, anyway, she's trying to make him like explain to him that you're going to get put to death, and he eventually fires her. And that made me think like, well, what was her care? What was the point of even having her? Why even have a lawyer? Why not just make him say, oh, I'm representing myself the whole time because he's crazy, or because he's crazy, so he's,
But that's just like half the movie. Like you're saying, why did we need Catherine Keener? Yeah, why did we need most of this movie? We didn't. Like, it's all like just the first movie over again.
And I didn't understand the point. The movie opens with
That
a cartoon, and I
Yeah,
just didn't understand
I
what
missed
the
it.
point was including it.
I was a little late, so I missed the cartoon.
You
Was it?
didn't miss much. I don't know. I didn't see how it connected. Maybe I'm not smart enough to interpret what
Yeah.
they were going for, but it's a Looney Tunes cartoon. The animation was cool. But I do want to say I did think this movie was shot well. I got to give it that credit. There were some cool shots. Of course, back to the smoking thing. Smoke just looks cool on screen. It just
Yeah, it
does.
does.
And
But you overdo it.
they'd way overdo it. But yeah, I thought the cinematography was cool and looked good, and I would love to have been for a movie that I enjoyed. But man, I just hated this movie. And there's a moment in the movie where when they're on the steps and Arthur's like, I'm escaped, we can go live now, and she's like, you're not the Joker anymore, so bye, bitch.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then she starts to sing, and he goes, no, stop, don't sing. And someone in my audience goes, yes, please don't sing. And everyone laughed
Yeah.
and clapped. And back to the musical, like halfway through, as soon as a musical note started, you just hear groans and it just halts. The movie grinds to a halt. It's like, oh, here we go,
Yeah.
another song.
Yeah.
And musicals usually use the songs to push the plot forward or give you information that can't be told by dialogue. But what they do here is the music just repeats or reinforces what was
Hmm.
just said. So, like the example I just said, where they're on the steps and she's saying, "Bye, sorry, I don't love you anymore because you're not the Joker." The song she sings just says that same thing. She's
Yeah.
over him, she's
Yeah.
tired, she's done, she's moving on. So it was just the musical idea was so crazy for them to actually go with it. It was a neat idea, but man, before final edit, they should have come to the conclusions. This isn't really working. Let's talk about the last scene.
Okay.
So at the end of the movie, Arthur Fleck is killed by another inmate. He says, "I want to tell you a joke," tells him some stupid joke, and then stabs him a whole bunch of time in the stomach. He falls over, bleeding, holding his clutching. Then in the background, in blur, we see that character do the Nolan Joker thing where he cuts his face to make the Joker, as if implying he's now the Joker. I don't really know. But here's my thoughts on the scene. It took me by surprise. I didn't think they would
Me
kill
too,
him like
for
this
sure.
or in the movie. But it was so unsatisfactory. So what? He was already being sentenced to death.
Yeah.
Is this just
Yeah.
because, is it like back to Todd Phillips saying, "Oh, you want a Joker movie?" Is this back to him
Yeah.
thinking, "Oh, well, we're going to kill him so everyone can see, so you can't make me make another one," That's the feeling I
Yeah.
got. What did you think of the final scene?
Overall, I think I'm very positive on the final scene. It shocked me. And then I saw what the guy was doing in the background. And then I was like, okay, I see what they're doing because people are, and I'm wondering if it was a studio note or something because Joaquin was never going to do another one of these. I can't believe they got him for a second. They
Yeah.
want the like fans are desperately wanting this to match up with the Batman in the future. So they have this young guy
Mm,
kill Arthur Fleck. So this young guy will, like, in 10, 20 years, when Batman is Robert Pattinson, they'll
right.
be like the same age, and all of a sudden he's the Joker. And then I think those movies are gonna come together at some point,
I
kind
guess
of those.
I guess that could happen. Although this actor, I don't recognize him. I don't, there. I doubt they would make a whole movie with him as the lead because he's not a named actor.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like it's like we're in the 80s and Bruce is like a 10-year-old boy, right?
Right.
So it would jump
It
ahead
would be
20 years.
somebody
So
else. Yeah.
they would probably hire like a, like Paul Dano age
I
or
mean,
something
maybe,
like that.
but hold on, but maybe, but I thought, the cool thing or one of the nice things about the first one was this is independent and disconnected, but you think that might not be the case now?
The fans want it to be connected. They've been asking for it,
Mm.
and
And I guess like comparing Joker 1 and Batman, I could see how they could eventually connect just because they feel dark and similar tone and we're both good and received well.
yeah, and I could just see, I could honestly see Lady Gaga being Harley Quinn in,
She should. She
you
should,
know,
man, because this is just not fair to her.
in like a crossover, and then it could kind of be a little bit of a world, but unfortunately no one's ever going to go back and watch Joker 2. Like, who's going to get the DVD and be like, oh, I gotta watch that again tonight? That
No
was
way.
neat.
Yeah, this movie is just
Yeah.
dead. It's so dead. I can never see myself seeing it again. I can never see recommending it. Like Megalopolis, we talked about recently being a bad movie. That is at least interesting in a like, wow, what the hell were they going for? Whereas here, it's
Yeah,
like, no, don't bother with that one. Just skip it. Watch the CinemaSins video about it whenever they come out.
it's just a
Um,
down, and it's just a down, it's a
it's full
full,
downer.
it's like the aesthetic and the tone is
Tone.
just,
Yep.
you're like every time a song started, I took my phone and I went like this, and I looked down at my phone.
Yep. Yep. It's a miserable
And
experience.
miserable. So I don't know if I have anything more to say, really. I came out of it. I came out of the movie at 3 stars. I'm at 2 stars now because I have a hard time not turning this movie into what I think it could have been. I think if they cut out all the music, I think that ending's good. I think a lot of what they have is good. Like it's a 220 minute. If it was 80 minutes, maybe
That's another thing. That's another
It-
thing. This is 2 hours and 20 minutes almost. If
Yeah.
this was 90 minutes or an hour and 45 minutes, like then
One song, maybe.
yeah, it wouldn't have been so bad. But yeah, this just drags on forever. So
Yeah.
I
Kind of
was,
like,
go ahead, finish what you were
I'm
going
going
to
to
say.
say, kind of like our review of it, but we had a lot to say.
I was at 2 stars, but I'm actually lowering it down to 1.5.
Okay. So we both did that.
Yeah, we both
That's
lowered it
okay.
just because, yeah, I didn't like this. I didn't like this at all. And I don't want to see another one like this get made. I have no interest in what Todd Phillips is going to do. And, I just don't care. I just don't care. It's bad. It's bad, but not so bad. It's good,
Yeah. I remember I did show this to my dad. I think actually both my parents, but I wouldn't recommend this to anyone. I don't know who I would recommend.
I know.
I
I'm
don't even
trying.
know. It's so hard. Like, I can see why it's at 33%
Me
because there's
too.
probably a lot of people like us who are like 1.5, 2 stars. Okay, the cinematography, the acting, everything was great. Like, if it wasn't for the music, I think he could have gotten another Oscar nomination for this. But
Yeah. Yeah.
the singing, and everybody's gonna see him singing and be like, okay, no, that's awful.
Right. Right.
Sadly,
And you make I forgot about Walk the Line. He did win an Oscar for that in 2006.
he did. Okay.
He's a fantastic singer, and he's an amazing actor too. I
Yes.
still love Joaquin Phoenix. His filmography is just really impressive. I want to just name a couple movies that we have him in. So Gladiator, of course, was his
It's
original
one of his
big breakout. Then recently, Beau is Afraid. He is great in that.
Yeah.
Even though maybe the
Yeah.
movie isn't the greatest, he's just phenomenal. We just had Napoleon. He was also good in that.
My least favorite role I've ever seen him in is Napoleon.
My least favorite is Signs for him.
Really? I thought he played that
Yeah,
role well. It's
I
like
just didn't like the character maybe, but
little
he's in The
brother.
Master. Paul Thomas Anderson's The Master.
Yeah.
I doubt you've seen this one, but it's called You Were Never Really Here.
That's my favorite role of his.
Okay, you have seen it.
I love
Fantastic.
that movie.
That's
Love
another.
that movie.
Actually, this is a good comparison. It's very dark, really sad and downer, and don't watch that if you're depressed because it is brutal. But damn, is he good in it?
Yeah, I
Also,
love
Come
it.
On, Come On. That's another kind of boring movie that came
See,
out.
I didn't really like that one because I'd already seen the You Were Never Really Here. And I
Yeah.
was like, wow.
Inherent Vice, and then of course Walk the Line, and then a whole bunch, many on after that. But those are even the Sisters Brothers. Did you see that one? It was the Western. It was the Western
No.
with him and John C. Reilly and Jake Gyllenhaal. Great,
No.
cool movie. Not many people saw it. Came out in 2018.
Okay.
Really bad name. They're brothers, but their last name is Sisters. So it's called the
Okay.
Sisters Brothers.
Somebody had that idea in their head and they were like, oh
Exactly.
my God.
They're like, that sounds cool. But he was great in it. So, I want to wrap that up by just saying he's still amazing, but this was a terrible choice. And someone said, I wish I could have verified this, so don't take this as gospel. Someone said that he had a dream where he thought this should be a musical, and that's where the idea came from. Did you hear that?
I think he's just saying anything at this point, but I know I didn't hear that. The only thing I have been seeing is people critiquing the critics, saying like, don't you guys remember he announced it was going to be a musical like 4 years ago? And it's like, yeah, but it was bad. Like, it was bad. Like, I went into it hoping for goodness, but anyways.
Yeah, the idea for Joker 2 ultimately came from a dream that Joaquin Phoenix once had. Todd Phillips said that. Yeah, Todd Phillips said that. Joker said that. So who knows if that's true? That's just hearsay. But yeah, so don't see this. Don't see it. I say don't even bother. It's not worth it. Keep the idea of Joaquin Phoenix as a Joker positive
just the first
in your mind.
one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Or if you watch that at home, just fast forward through the singing.
Yeah, hit the skip button.
Yeah.
But God, I mean, it's just not so much. I mean, like you said, or like we both said, the majority of this movie, 90% is in the jail, in the courtroom. There is no Joker, anything outside of it. You think of the Joker and you think the clown prince of crime and riddles and, riddles. He did like riddly type stuff. And
I guess we never even talked about, Mr. Two-Face Harvey Dent being in this too.
yeah, it's such a tiny, tiny thing that it's not even worth mentioning.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on. Why don't I do one, then you do one, and then I do one?
Okay. When do you got to go though?
Pretty soon. It's at 8:30.
Okay.
So let me just do my two ones real quick.
Okay. And
I
then
saw
I'll
the
do my.
Yeah, I saw the Outrun today. It's with Saoirse Ronan, who this is based on a memoir, and she plays an alcoholic. The story is told out of order, and this is clever. The only way you can tell is because of her hair. You see some where she's blonde, some where she's blue hair, but then you see some with blue tips, so you know her hair's grown out.
That's
My
cool.
overall take on this movie is Saoirse Ronan is great in it, as always, but a better version of this movie, if you guys remember the surprise nomination for, what's her name, from To Leslie. Do you remember that? It was like a whole
Yes.
thing. People got mad
And
that she
she's like one
somehow.
of my favorite actors now.
Yeah, Andrea Riseborough.
Thank you.
So it's just, the movie's decent. It's a 3-star. There's some nice shots. There's lots and lots of metaphors and layered in. Saoirse Ronan's using her native tongue, and I just was a little bored. And like I said, this movie was just done recently by Andrew Riseborough and To Leslie. So I would say it's an okay movie. Or if you have an alcohol problem or know someone that has, this might really touch you. Throughout it, I had a thought like, oh, thank God I don't have an alcohol addiction, because it just seems so hard to deal with, because it's so socially acceptable, and
Yeah.
the access is everywhere. It's any and everywhere if you want it, whereas other drugs are harder to find if you're addicted to them.
Well, that's too bad.
The other one, yeah. What about the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally fine. It's not bad. I read some critics that feel the same way I do, but others thought it was really incredible and amazing. So, results may vary there. The next one is A Different Man. This is Sebastian Stan. And I said it at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
A different man. Is that what it's called?
A Different Man. Yeah. And what was
Okay.
surprising about this was it's a comedy, because you look at the poster, it looks like it might be serious because it's about a
Yeah.
man with a really horrible disability that disfigures his face. But the interesting part about this was Renee Renavisi, the French actress from The Worst Person in the World, is in this. She's incredible.
Right.
Yeah, she's great. She has a cool character to play. But the movie's good. It's fine. I gave it 2.5 or 3 stars. The most surprising and best thing about this movie is that gentleman, Adam Pearson, with the face. He is like a real actor. From him in Under the Skin, we think of him as meek and timid and quiet and shy. In this movie, he's singing karaoke. He's the light of the room when he's at a
Wow.
It was
Cool.
shocking. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, wow, this guy he's inspiring. He doesn't let like his disability hold him down or anything like that. It's really impressive. And if you love Sebastian Stan, he's very fun in this, very handsome, and you
Oh,
get to
that's
see a
good.
lot of him, if you know what I
Oh.
mean, in this movie.
Oh. Oh.
So yeah, but it's in limited release. It's getting harder and harder to see. So if you want to see it, you need to go now. But yeah, that's A Different Man. Let's hear about yours, because I really am curious.
So last week I told you about two movies that are streaming. House of Spoils is on Amazon Prime, and the movie is called It's What's Inside is on Netflix. I'm going to quickly talk about House of Spoils. They're both horror movies, but I think these are horror movies that fall more into the thriller category.
Okay.
There's more horror and
House of Spoils. Yes, the chef one,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So basically, the only person you know in this is Ariana DeBose from West Side Story.
Yep.
Uh, and
And Hamilton. She was awesome in Hamilton.
yes, Hamilton. So we see her. She is working at this upclass wet New York restaurant,
Like
and then
the
she quit.
menu type thing, right?
Yes,
In that it's like a high and pretentious
yes,
restaurant.
very pretentious, and she likes it, but she wants to be her own chef at her own restaurant. So she quits. She moves out and finds like this fucking cabin out in the middle of nowhere. And they say that in this world now, like apparently like everybody likes like destination restaurants
Sure.
where so like people are going to drive out to the middle of the woods for this.
I mean, well, remember in the menu, you had to take a boat to get to this one restaurant.
I guess. Yeah, that's true. So it's just kind of like been there, done that.
Okay.
The characters, and so she starts cooking, and then she wakes up the next morning, and because she's got to, show her menu off, she gets up, and all of her food has bugs in it and moldy, and she's got to throw it all away, and nothing's going her way. And then she finds that there's, maybe something magical going on around the house, or there might be some sort of something going on. They really just kind of threw things at the wall with this. The characters are paper thin and and irritating, and the ending is just silly. I don't recommend it.
Another negative Blumhouse movie.
Is it Blumhouse?
Yeah.
Damn it. So I gave it 1.5. I see most of my friends, only 3 of my friends have watched it, and it's all like 1.5, 2.5. So I think it's just not worth a watch, to be honest.
Damn, that sucks. Ariana DeBose was also in Argyle, which wasn't great, and ISS, which didn't do well.
I know.
Because she's great. She's like beautiful and radiant. Like, yeah, sucks to see her. And she's in Kraven the Hunter. We'll see how that is.
We'll see how that goes. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of her yet. I don't know why. But so, anyways, let's talk about the movie I did like. It's called It's What's Inside, and it's on Netflix now, so it's available to pretty much everyone. It is a horror movie, but like there's one like scary scene, and then the rest of it is basically like a kind of like a not a murder mystery, but like a mystery. It's just a mystery
thriller. Yeah.
So it's like 7 friends are together. They go out. They said they would be there on the night before this one guy got married. They made this decision in high school, so they all came back together. And there's this one guy who they just thought wouldn't show up because a bunch of stuff happened in high school or college or something college, where he got his little sister drunk, and then like this happened, and you find out more about that later. So he brings this machine, and it's a briefcase, and he opens it up.
Right?
Yeah. Yes, and you take these like nodes and put them on your head, like the stuff you put on or they put on your chest for
MRI or something.
MRI or something, yeah.
EKG.
So EKG, thank you. And so they're on your temples, and it switches everybody into someone else's body.
Okay.
So
that's fun.
It's like Freaky Friday. They all of a sudden are in someone else's body, and things kind of start to come out from like their past because people are lying about who they are. People are, maybe there was crushes in the past that they can now, do something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't realize we had someone in the chat. Alex is there. You're the best, Alex. Yeah, so it is very good. Oh, is this my friend Alex or your friend? Because he's talking about the big picture.
Your friend. Well, I don't know.
Alex,
but yeah, I know. I'm surprised you mentioned the big picture.
Yeah. When I saw big picture, I'm like, wait. So it has like a twist at the end. This movie is anxiety inducing because imagine being put into like all of your friends' bodies, and then I'm not 100% sure how it works because like I think you kind of get like their memories or something, and like you might know some things that you shouldn't. But yeah, so there's this couple that are there, and they're together, and like things happen, and I really can't say too much more, but I'll just say
I gotta check this out.
Yeah, I'm so happy with the person who wrote the Wikipedia page, because this is a hard to follow movie. You got to be paying attention because there's 7 people, and you got to kind of figure out who is in each person's body, because this movie doesn't pander to the audience. It really is like, exactly. And I thought of you when I thought, I was like, because he hates that. But like this movie's
I hate when the movies treat you like you're stupid. Yeah,
exactly. And this one's like, it does little things to remind you. Like sometimes like you'll see the person, and then all of a sudden like it'll shimmer, and you can see who that person actually is.
Okay. Yep.
And then they have name tags that they can switch around. Really interesting. I gave it 3.5. I could see giving it 4. I think it's right around there.
Cool.
It's really, really fun.
I'm glad to see
And
that this is good because this cast is a bunch of people I don't recognize except for one woman who I remember from Fear the Walking Dead.
okay,
And she was also in Into the Storm, which was like that Twister ripoff, and another movie called Evil is Trending with 17% on Rotten Tomatoes.
okay.
Yeah, so she's been in
I
some bad stuff. So I'm glad to hear that it's good.
so one
Do
of
you
the
know anyone
main
else?
guys,
Yeah.
yeah, he's played by James Morosini, and you would know him as the son in I Love My Dad with Patton Oswalt that came out like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah,
see
yeah.
that?
I didn't see it. I
Where
remember
like
this though.
it's something about like it looks like he's having a relationship with his dad or
Yeah,
something. I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
I don't know.
I remember it.
But
Yep.
and he was good in it. And then also I want to say, have you ever seen the movie All My Friends Hate Me?
No.
Okay, it's a little like British movie, and this guy goes and like everybody just kind of hates him, and he's like the main character and shit, and it's really anxiety inducing. And I got kind of the same feeling from this movie.
Okay.
Um, so yeah,
Cool.
I think that's
I'll
it.
go check it out.
You
Yeah,
really should. Yeah, do
let's
you gotta
wrap this
go?
up. Yeah, soon.
Okay, give me 1 second because I do want to say I watched the Climax. I
Oh,
watched
you did?
Climax. Yes,
Yeah,
and I didn't.
Gaspar Noé's movie.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I did not like it.
That sucks. Why
It's
didn't you like it?
I'm just gonna tell you right now, those are not my kind of movies. That's just not my style. Like I didn't like Mandy for the same reasons.
Mm,
Like it's not my vibe. And so I made some of my friends watch it. One of my friends gave it like 4 stars. She loved it. And
okay, good.
I'm like, it's just not my thing. Like I liked a lot of the stuff. I'm at like 2 stars on it. I'm sorry.
That's
Um,
okay.
and I'm glad I've seen it because I haven't seen a lot of Gaspar Noé stuff. And there's a lot of very interesting stuff in here, but there's just a lot of characters and they're
There is a lot of
dancing for a
characters.
lot of it.
I thought
And
the
then,
opening dance scene was like one of the coolest things I've ever seen. That choreography, the way the camera like goes up above them.
see, I wish I saw it in theaters because then I would
Yeah.
have been like more raptured, you know?
Yep.
And the person I was watching it with like hated it within 20 minutes. So that didn't help my viewing
Oh, damn.
experience. I'm sorry.
That's
So
okay. I'm glad you saw it, and I appreciate your honesty.
yeah, there was a
Hopefully
lot
you
I
like.
did like.
Hopefully you like New Order then.
Yeah, so I owe you New Order and you owe me Labyrinth. I sent
Yeah.
that to you the
Yeah.
other day.
Yep.
So, okay, everyone, thank you so much for listening. We kind of did this one on the fly and we talked for 40 minutes about
Joker.
Joker 2, and that's okay. But thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yeah, we'll be back next week with The Apprentice, Saturday Night,
Yeah,
Terrifier 3, and more.
we'll be back and more.
Hit me with the outro.
I was trying.
Oh, that was perfect timing. Perfect. All right, man. I'll let you know what I think of Terrifier.